All right, let's dive in. Today we're exploring the poetry of Vaughn Benjamin, better known as Midnight to Many.
Yeah, the man behind some seriously powerful lyrics.
Absolutely. And we're going deep into a collection called Koll Pekude. Word, sound, and poems of Vaughn Benjamin, Midnight. It's not your typical poetry, is it?
Not at all. I mean, he takes these everyday images like numbers, objects, even trash.
Yeah, and uses them to explore some seriously raw, sometimes uncomfortable emotions, right?
Exactly.
So let's jump right into it with one lota. Right from the start, that repeated phrase, one lota. I don't know about you, but it gave me this feeling of impending doom.
It's interesting, isn't it, how he plays with those different meanings? One lota, like this small, insignificant thing.
Right.
But then it becomes this looming threat.
Yeah, like something's off, but you can't quite.
Put your finger on it. Exactly.
And then he throws in lines like, a figment of implemented paranoia come to life, and the regenerated monster of damage and plunder. That's not just everyday worry, that's full-blown paranoia.
Oh, absolutely. It's like he's tapping into this primal fear, that feeling of vulnerability, being manipulated.
Exploited.
Yeah, like he's saying, wake up. The world's not as safe as you think.
Right. And then there's this shift. That vulnerability flips into this desperate need for self-reliance. He talks about hiding his strength, not being the handout believer anymore.
He's been burned before.
Definitely. Building those walls.
It's like he's pushing back against that vulnerability, that fear. I'm not going to be a victim anymore.
Powerful. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Drawing a line in the sand.
And that shift is so striking. He goes from feeling exposed to this one lota to saying one jot or one tittle of disrespect and belittle is my cue to tune out. Like finally finding his voice.
A defiant stance.
Reclaiming his power. All right, let's move on to the Get Back. Now, this one is packed with imagery. Puny trickle of acid, Siberian waterfalls of exaggeration.
Yeah.
What kind of emotions are we dealing with here?
For me, it's that feeling of being off balance, overwhelmed. The puny trickle, like this negativity slowly eating away at you.
Yeah.
And then those Siberian waterfalls, that deluge of chaos, you just can't escape it.
And he's clearly craving stability, right? He wants the keel and the anchor. Like he's adrift in this sea of uncertainty.
Exactly. Searching for something to hold on to.
And then there's that line, Siberian silence beats violence. It's like he's found peace in that stillness.
Detaching from the chaos.
Not fighting it anymore.
Transcending it.
But there's also this underlying frustration with the way things are. The yo-yo in their eyes, that superficiality that ignores the ground and sky. Like calling out that shallowness, that disconnect.
Oh, he's not buying into the status quo. Not one bit.
Searching for something deeper.
Definitely.
There's got to be more to life than this. Which I think leads us perfectly into same boat. This one tackles interconnectedness, shared consequences. Those big questions. And it starts with that countdown. 98, close to 199, closer. I don't know about you, but chills, right?
Oh, yeah. It's like a ticking clock.
That sense of impending doom.
Like we're all on the verge of something big.
And then he brings in the fire imagery, which, never a good sign. Think it out, sir. Think it out good. And remember, one cannot think out fire with the absence of water. There are some forces you just can't control.
That lack of water really adds to it, that helplessness.
We're all just going to get burned. And then that domino effect. Double six and double deuce in a domino line will be toppled by the one that's in front every time.
Oh.
Our actions, our choices, ripple effects we can't even grasp.
We're all connected.
Totally.
Our fates are intertwined.
What we do impacts others, whether we realize it or not. Okay, let's switch gears. Spite. This one gets a little darker. He starts with, of the 60 seconds on a gentleman's clock, 2 or 3 seconds are bound not to show up. Even in the most precise systems, there are hidden parts, things left unsaid.
Yeah, those missing seconds. The darker side of human nature, maybe. Stuff we hide.
Even from ourselves.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like there's more to the story, but nobody's talking about it.
Then he goes on about hiding behind the shorthand and destroying his facade of airs and scents, inner turmoil brewing beneath the surface.
What we show the world versus what we feel inside. A classic struggle.
And those missing seconds are ticking away, threatening to expose it all. What are those hidden emotions? Rage, jealousy, insecurity.
It's like we all have that shadow self lurking.
Just waiting to erupt.
Right. Unsettling, but maybe also a little liberating.
Yeah, to acknowledge that darkness.
Exactly.
All right, let's lighten things up a bit with The Possessor's Lovely. This one seems playful at first, but there's a message about embracing our imperfections.
It's like he's taking those so-called flaws and turning them into something beautiful. He says, discoloration become beauty so seen, nature's mistake and enhancement.
A whole new definition of beauty.
Totally. Throwing out those conventional standards.
Hey, this is me and it's beautiful.
And he calls out those who try to explain away these unique traits. Enigmas for our explanation sessions.
Right, like, don't try to put me in a box. I love how he celebrates those who possess these qualities. In one of our consensus semantic sessions, the clefts of chin and bow-legged deficient wins in every category to leave conventions solitary and the possessors lovely.
Giving a voice to the misfits.
The outcasts, those who don't fit the mold.
Powerful message of acceptance.
Embracing our individuality. Okay, let's get real. Trash. This one hits hard from the start. Broken, fragmented, or simply used matter done, purpose none, and me, we, they.
Yeah.
Discarded. Hello, goodbye, we're through. Whoa. Talk about a reality check.
He doesn't hold back.
Not at all.
That feeling of worthlessness, being thrown away. But then he flips it. Makes us question what trash even means.
Yeah, like who decides what's valuable?
Right.
He says, incinerated value and attempt waste is what I find contemptible. Discarding something doesn't make it worthless.
Absolutely.
And he uses that example of the tired couch that's treasured in another home.
Like finding something amazing at a thrift store.
Someone else's junk. It's all about perspective.
Yeah.
And transformation. He talks about those with solution inclination, those with survival occupation,
Seeing opportunity where others see waste.
resourcefulness,
Making something out of nothing.
and then that cyclical twist. My trash across the sea to me may well grace mansions, though an offense. Was trash to one person is treasured to another.
It's a never-ending cycle.
Redefining value.
Nothing is permanent.
Everything's in flux.
Yeah.
Now, noise, nonetheless. This one hits a little too close to her. I mean, the title itself, right?
It's that feeling, a
Yeah.
constant bombardment of information, never a moment of peace.
He talks about this brittle consciousness, inability to adapt, to find stillness in all the noise.
And he tries to escape, right? Headphones, searching for quiet.
Destination East, attired for the West, headphones with brake pads, but noise nonetheless.
But it's always there.
Lurking beneath the surface. Bleak outlook, maybe, but also validating.
Yeah, like, it's okay to feel overwhelmed.
By it all.
I think it's something we all feel. Overloaded,
Yeah.
overstimulated.
Finding stillness in this crazy world is hard.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to an eel skin lie. That image, a compass on crutches.
Uncertainty right from the start.
Yeah.
Navigating life with a broken compass.
Yeah.
Feeling lost.
Not knowing which way to turn. And then he talks about moping in cathedrals of spacious re-in-checks.
Institutions, systems of belief. They promise guidance, but
Leave you empty.
disillusioned.
He really gets those limitations, those structures that offer comfort but not fulfillment. But then, a glimmer of hope, clinging to dreams. But trust what you know. Take a dream and make it so truly fanning in the clouds, the entire infrastructure of calcium carriage drawn on a leaf of you.
It's beautiful.
Finding hope in the midst of uncertainty.
The human spirit.
Creating beauty out of fragility. But then, that reality check. So work in winter and leaves fall in autumn. An eel skin lie of demagnetizes your credit card death. So use cash and pay onion in the eyes of obligation and delay.
Oof.
Dreams crushed by responsibility. Pressures of life.
He doesn't sugarcoat it.
Nope. It's a reminder of those forces that grind us down, make us question our purpose. All right, let's get introspective. Reality try. Identity, family, being true to yourself. He starts with failure as a constant companion. Almost always came close. Always knew his partner failure was not inclined to boast. Nearly hates proximity. Acknowledging it's part of life, but there's this aversion.
That fear of not measuring up.
Especially within a family.
Exactly.
And then he connects it to forging your own identity.
Right.
Simply because he cannot differentiate his identity family. It could be such cohesive calamity. The people we love holding us back.
Their expectations stifling our growth.
It's that struggle, loyalty versus breaking free. And then he describes feeling trapped. Centrifugal force that never gets to the core, just the muddy water spin of distort and distill almost approximately close to nearly true. That's what we do. Submersive preservation of semblance, necessary insanity to prevent the exodus of normalcy.
Yeah.
There's pressure to conform, even if it means sacrificing who you really are.
Going through the motions.
Living a life that's not your own.
Yeah.
And that ending. That is the appearance of sweater over iron-branded shirt. Good silver, good china reality try while we eat off Tupperware in front of TV. Putting on a show. struggling to make sense of it all.
Appearances can be deceiving, even those who seem to have it all figured out.
Might be grappling with their own demons. All right, let's shift gears again. The speech of the dust. Past experiences we try to bury, but they come back to haunt us. He starts with the swirling, rising, the speech of the dust. Memories, traumas, lurking in the shadows.
Haunted by the past.
Carrying that weight. And he describes trying to cleanse himself. The infiltration of roads to stomach. A chalkboard eraser in an ocean of residue, in a futile motion of cleanliness, and the no time sure of what to do in Siamese places of adjoining journeys, a trip to judgment with bags of guilt, trying to outrun the past.
But it always catches up.
Right. And then this defiance. The dead ahead, a mirage game of catch-up in a very unfair matchup to make a peacock's plumage transparent to create static interference. The speech of the dust can wait in hell to hear me hush.
Not letting the past define him.
Taking back control. Powerful. All right, the hour 11. Time, how it can feel distorted, unreal. He starts with, do you see the time or do you just not know? Challenging how we think about time, how it impacts us.
Yeah, how we measure it.
And then he describes it. Your angle, your crime is moving slow. Funny that we all tie bows on our feet. Our gifts are given, but shoes are on and gifts and steps are taken. Everything's in slow motion.
Like watching your life from a distance.
Even though we're moving forward, it feels like we're stuck, making the same mistakes.
That's a feeling, isn't it?
And that out-of-sync feeling continues. And each remembered for its initial entry to life and move to shorten your stroll across. So move, you've met your arrow, the length of a moving arrow. Seems you've met tick and not yet talk. But they somehow seesaw to advance the clock. So where are you in the portrait of dry ice again, I swear? It's like a dream. Time doesn't make sense.
Past and present blurring together.
And he ends with, you avoid dispensations to blend? Giants are giants because they're tall. So don't be a giant of not at all. There's no admiration and love in push coming to shove. The latter is never pleasant. The hour 11's been immortalized by history, because that's when the prepared relaxes, while the workforce of frantic files his taxes. What does that say about our priorities, how we define success?
Striving to be a giant, chasing external validation, versus that peace that comes from being true to yourself.
And that pursuit, it's hollow, leading to a life of push coming to shove, instead of connection, fulfillment.
He's saying true success is about being present.
Finding joy in the journey, not the destination.
Exact.
Right, the exact amount. Change, imperfection, the metaphor of weaving.
The weavers of the all-dimensional human strand, baskets of human stability. It's beautiful. Our lives interconnected, that delicate balance.
But then, nets of in and out, nothing she weaves now holds the exact amount. Nothing complete, Burke. The balls are now aimed to go through and repeat. Things are constantly shifting.
Impermanent.
You can't hold on to anything solid.
Life's always evolving, changing.
Yeah.
No control over the outcome.
And this cycle of plotted inconvenience, the reason destruction commended. Maybe there's beauty in the chaos.
Maybe it's okay for things to be messy.
Challenging our desire for perfection, for control.
Sometimes the most beautiful things come from the imperfections, the broken pieces.
Okay, let's get uncomfortable. Into mineral oneness,
Right.
that image. Land mines for the ephemeral wheel locks for the mind. Intense.
Anything fleeting, superficial, it's going to get blown up. It's a warning.
Don't chase those empty pleasures, the distractions.
Exactly.
And then this juxtaposition, forcing us not to conceptualize skillets of fat where the brilliant symptoms of awareness oil we reuse to fry should materialize, highlight the fine print to alert the careless in the black seat on the road. Base desires versus something greater, but we're so caught up, we don't even see it.
Prioritizing the material over the spiritual.
Lost in the mundane, missing the bigger picture. Black seat on the road. It's that feeling of being stuck.
Going through the motions, not really living.
And then this yearning. In the attempt to erode, I see me among groups, me on vines bearing fruits, not in the water pressure, rushing out into forever, into mineral oneness with a God that won't punish himself. A connection to something greater, transcending the ego.
Mineral oneness, beautiful image, returning to a primal state.
Shedding those layers of conditioning, societal expectations.
Getting back to the essence.
The seeker, desire, illusion, the inevitable disappointment.
The crimson comely, the red of spicy, passion intensity.
Setting the stage.
A journey driven by those primal urges.
And he describes that allure of the unknown, getting caught up in the fantasy, the box office draw, the lust of the eyes. In the deceptive stately and the closed door, body horse, voice dreamy, the chaste and the tawdry. Searching for somethings, but getting lost in the chase.
Seduced by the illusion.
And then that contrast. The eagle soar of a majestic whore, above the rest and below your own promise, the projected respect of a fool. The now-believed version of the roles where appearance is law and the drapes show the outside no sign of the raw there, appearing to have it all but underneath.
Emptiness.
A void.
That can never be filled.
And the seeker, left empty, disillusioned. The seeker cries an object of love hated and despised. True fulfillment comes from within, not chasing external validation.
Finding that inner peace.
Wholeness. All right, let's take a breath. Kubed. Short, sweet, powerful. Beautiful, diverse, cursed black and fur cultures can be hacked, but clocks never go back.
Beauty and pain. Pride and sorrow.
The weight of history.
Caught between two worlds.
And that line, cultures can be hacked, but the clocks never go back. You can try to erase history, but
The past leaves its mark.
you can't escape it. But you can choose how to relate to it.
How it shapes you.
Now it's over. This feels like a call to action. Shedding the past.
A fresh start.
Tidy up time release from your mind. The dust and the broom go to a new room. Enough is enough.
Clearing out the clutter.
Making space for something new.
It's that reset button.
Choosing to move on.
Taking control.
All right, Ravish. Intellectualism. How knowledge can be manipulated, he writes. Men of learning expounding Oz look their non-fiction from a storybook. They start from the beginning and ignore the reason to edit and publish and confuse their trash. Rubbish. Using knowledge to mislead, to control.
Overcomplicating things. Dressing up falsehoods as truth.
Don't believe everything you read.
Question the motives.
Look beyond the surface.
Exactly.
And he calls it trash. Being fed BS, manipulated by those who think they have all the answers.
Be critical thinkers. Question authority. Trust your gut.
Now, on credibility gets right to it. Power, control, silencing truth, he starts. Truth and lewd allergic. The pen taken from the brute. Yes, there's argument for justified mute. Powerful. Truth is a threat to those in power.
The pen taken from the brute. Being silenced.
Justified mute. Chilling. Knowing the truth, but being afraid to speak up.
Be brave.
Speak truth to power.
Even when it's hard.
Okay, experience. Short but thought-provoking. The concrete was once mortar. The mother was once daughter, a hell of a lot softer.
Transformation. Time changes everything.
Nothing stays the same. The concrete was once malleable. The mother was once vulnerable.
Even the hardest edges soften over time. We're always evolving.
It's a message of hope, even in hardship.
There's potential for growth.
Now, on company. This image of cutting, to explore futility of forced change. Scissors cutting, shredding to nothing will try to teach a spoon how to do the same thing.
You can't force someone to change, mold them into what they're not.
It's absurd. The scissors, the spoon, different tools, different purposes.
Embrace diversity.
Different perspectives, different ways of being. Now, paper route. Communication, holding back, censoring yourself.
A paper clip on upper lip for those who tend to talk and trip an unwise mouth. A leg stuck out the people on the paper route. That paper clip suppressing your words. Biting your tongue.
Holding back.
Fear over the consequences.
And paper route, this predetermined path, how communication should be.
He's saying don't blindly follow that route.
Talking and tripping. Unwise mouth, leading to missteps.
Be mindful of our words.
Think before we speak.
True communication. It's a two-way street.
All right, let's wrap up this part with who is. More questions than answers.
A cutting board to save the surface. The sacrificial worthless. Martyr. How we value people. Stark.
Who's worthy of protection? Who do we sacrifice? The cutting board used and discarded?
The overlooked. The taken for granted.
Exploited for the benefit of others.
It's a call to examine our biases, those systems that perpetuate inequality. Recognize everyone's worth.
Everyone's dignity. It makes you think about the marginalized, the silenced. Whose voices are we missing? Whose stories aren't being told?
Yeah, powerful stuff. Now, Cruel Dare hits different. Mortality, beauty fading. He even questions if life is a lie. He starts with this vocab of not much. Words can't fully capture beauty, the weight of existence. Like describing a dream, the words just fall short.
And he talks about beauty fading off the lips like a thrush to the ear. Everything changes. Everything passes. Even the things we cherish most.
He's not afraid to go there.
And then, this line. To those not shot with talent, a dismal, cruel dare. To see God and live a passive sedative. To see God negation, exploration, negation, alive, a lie.
Whoa. Questioning reality itself. What we perceive as truth. Maybe it's an illusion.
And for some, facing that reality, It's too much.
Easier to stay numb.
That passive sedative, blind faith.
Right.
He's not afraid to challenge us. And then that image of rebellion, to dip the black armband of mourning in flour, transforming grief and loss into something defiant.
Rejecting those norms that tell her how to grieve, how to feel, he's forging his own path.
And he questions civilization, the naturalist's nature civilization for later. Maybe we've strayed too far from our natural state.
A different way of being.
A more authentic way to experience the world.
Thinking outside the box.
All right, leave. Letting go, detaching from the material world, seeking something more.
He commands, leave my mind the gift of commonality, leave their ways to search out immortality, leave your goods. A complete rejection of mainstream values.
I'm out. I'm seeking something that transcends this physical existence.
And it's not just possessions, it's ways of thinking, those patterns that keep us trapped.
He challenges material wealth at the marketplace of utility. But take them back, if in defense of the fact that you left goods, that they left theirs never, where thirst meets ways, where death befalls together, and I left my mind. In the face of death, it all means nothing.
What truly matters? Human connection, shared experience.
Transcending boundaries.
Okay.
Demand in. It's those shadows that lurk even in our brightest moments, those societal pressures that say we're never enough.
In total brightness, there's always a silhouette of failure. Even when things are good, that fear of messing it all up.
We see it lurking on the walls of our material success. We build these walls of achievement, but they can't protect us from that fear.
Calling out that emptiness.
Even in abundance.
He offers an alternative.
This should be our meditative demand, in the demand out of doubt. So declare and reroute the silhouette of a fall we see on another's wall, graduate school degrees of partiality, smile and dismiss reciprocity. True success comes from within. Facing your fears, defining success on your own terms.
Rejecting those external markers of achievement.
Embracing authenticity, the grounds of listless ease, modern society leaving us feeling disconnected.
Diaspora of decadence, values scattered, lost in a world that's constantly changing, demanding our attention.
And technology, globalization, erasing our differences, information superhighway to seek and destroy differences, resist all the same, trying to be the same, fit in, keep up.
That loss of individuality.
Becoming homogenized.
Losing what makes us unique.
And then this. The rapidly falling leaves covering bearing gifts, which the friend captive still sees, accepting their nothing as grain coming down an inclined plane. And the hollow laugh ricochets around a false start as we attempt to know black again. A society that's lost its soul.
Settling for empty pleasures.
Distractions that keep us from the truth.
Complacency.
Accepting the status quo. We know. Limits of knowledge. Embracing humility.
He questions what we really know. Is it not true that we know love forever and ever? We praise the gods with our understanding, with our stupidity. We sanctify holy to question degrees of impossibility. Even our strongest beliefs, deepest convictions. Maybe they're based on faulty assumptions.
And sometimes, seeking knowledge leads us astray. So they perceive us stupid in our humility, as the meek inherits the baton, prepare to flee from hate and bias we know. True wisdom is recognizing the limits of our understanding.
Being open to different perspectives.
He advocates humility. We don't have all the answers. There's always more to learn.
And vulnerability is strength.
The unicycle maneuverability, where you pay for balance with difficulty. Yes, we know to live so. And the pure exudes vulnerability, and we know it's okay to not have it all figured out.
True strength is being open, honest about our struggles.
We're all in this together. We all have challenges, triumphs. There's beauty in that shared experience. All right, let's fly high for a minute. The score. Control, certainty, those illusions shattered by time and fate.
He sets the scene. Hanging around, they said, in full control, 36,000 feet in the air, foolish, nonchalant bravado of tailwind. On top of the world. But there's a sense that it could all come crashing down.
And then those who try to plan everything. The men with the days charted out for sure, certain that fertilizer is not manure, certain that the clock keeps the time and not the score. We can make schedules, systems, but life throws curveballs.
The fertilizer and manure, interesting choice.
Right.
What we think is progress, nourishment. Maybe it's actually pollution, corruption.
And that final line, certain that the clock keeps the time and not the score. Time marches on. It's not about how long we live, but what we do with that time.
What kind of impact we make.
Be present, savor each moment, focus on what matters. My habitation. Feeling lost, disconnected, yearning for something more.
He starts with feeling stripped bare, connection rejected, the shears of misunderstanding taking from me the hair I have grown for warmth, the daily thunder that pushes my reconciliatory way over yonder. putting himself out there, but met with coldness.
And that feeling of being trapped. The sovereign in his empire closes off the entire hand over hand, still cannot climb higher. A tall, deep cup nailed to the table, reaching for something just out of reach.
Powerless. Stuck.
And then a shift. Hope. The stork. Has made me love the stork in my unavailable pate. Does he not drink with ease? The wind goes by, ignoring my attempt to hitchhike. The water of forlorn, combined with driving blister, would make us a monsoon remembered forever, ripping converge from his together, making it all likely to attempt bigger blue my habitation.
Finding beauty in the pain.
The stork. New beginnings. Hope. Transcending limitations.
And that monsoon. Transformation. Destruction and creation. Even in the darkest times, something new can emerge.
We have the power to create our own reality, our own habitation, even when it feels like the world's against us. Currents of the mind. The flow of thoughts, how they shape reality.
They siphon pity from the vortex of things that make life imaginable. Empathy, compassion. It comes from our ability to imagine the suffering of others.
And this world, both appealing and unsettling. Marginal muddy they will tell and show to be preferable in the dreams. All will die here, the baking aroma of goodness in the muddled sweating, not to be sorry. Here, treason dies when treason dies.
Yeah.
Drawn to the fringes. Less structure, less control, but also danger. Hidden agendas.
Questioning the narratives we create, the stories we tell ourselves.
And then these currents of thought. Here the loss again romanticize the feudal English blood, letting a cure for bedwetting. Dare we speak amongst us, and not fear, leaps over transition into avenues of maintenance. The obstinate intellectual insolence, a dull patch in the Navajo fabric, is similar, Senegalese kind. No need to panic. Currents of the mind, tolerance renovated and progress redefined. History rewritten. Power structures shaping our understanding.
Intellectual arrogance, that sense of superiority, blinding us to the interconnectedness of all things.
He advocates for inclusivity. Tolerance renovated and progress redefined. True progress comes from embracing diversity, recognizing the value of different perspectives.
Expanding what's possible. A world where we're not just tolerating, but celebrating our differences.
Now, the last place finish of initiative, that tension between conforming and rebelling.
Lennon leaves a suit of beard of corn, the right to be different. We have the right to be ourselves, even when it goes against the grain.
And that pressure to conform. The concave bulge of saturated self, a patterned theoretical dance for attention, outrageous for points. The mother of mainstream is quaint to kick entry as opposed to a head-first norm is called flair. How dare they screw, cause cloud stay high, prosecutor, and defense success was successful, belief, failure, successive blinking. So the tentative challenge becomes the emboldened, abrasive, the undertow of imagined mockery, the last place finish of initiative. There is no ripe red birth of mango. The young cannot grow into a mature pear and be what you were when you get there, losing yourself in the process.
The danger of conformity, stifling creativity, authenticity.
Sugar for the cancer. Denial, self-deception, avoiding those uncomfortable truths.
The tension can be seen like the steam over pot. The places in between can get pretty hot. Something building up, that pressure.
And those compromises we make, numbing the pain. What to be, what not to be allowed. If you bow to be free, then you crush to be proud. Crush the truth of your shame, all who know you disdain, and of reminding of affairs. Those with venerated ears speak wisdom for your ears, only hear rationalizations of sugar for the cancer. Trying to cover up those wounds, those insecurities, but they're always there.
Self-sabotage, those choices that hurt us in the long run.
Now a hunter enclosed. Perception, manipulation, breaking free.
Cardboard eagle soaring into the skies. Power, that's all for show. No substance.
And those who are fooled by appearances. Surveying the prey from makeshift eyes, lording over the hill in the dale, this obsolete word usage, is a reflective wail of a difference in takeoff and descent. There are those who'll never know how this excursion went from the cruel shape of nostrils that fierceness presents to all that would conquer a challenge to make, obligated to manage an untamed wild present. A hunter enclosed with manners and linens will break out. Those illusions of control, cages of comfort, but the wild ones, they'll break free.
A message of hope. Even in oppression, the human spirit finds a way to express itself.
Okay, same bus. Teamwork, communication.
No credit, full, no praise, complete. The message they're given is to counter conceit. What does it matter? The motive of the messenger who came in the subliminal. True collaboration is putting ego aside. We're all in this together.
And those communication breakdowns. Feeling misunderstood, undervalued, was in the physical was easier when in the form of straight talk was the umpire called a balk, when you know you are missed.
Yeah.
Your spirit persists when you're quick wit in cutting down effort.
Like you're on different wavelengths.
Can't connect.
Communication takes effort, empathy. a willingness to listen.
And that ending. Do you know that confidence can be optimistic without arrogant, self-serving, and cocky pundit? The very things you abhor used to cut the lead, and even the score when the win is for us. We same team, same bus. When we work together, support each other, we can achieve anything.
We're stronger together.
Our collective power is greater than the sum of our parts. X runs O. Experience how it leads to a deeper understanding of success.
He starts with stagnation. Run, one, run now, stop. And look, same place, no hallucination you're right from, and to the same destination, yes. Stuck in a rut, putting in effort but no progress.
And then experience comes in. Now experience will drop the bags that weigh more than you do now, walk across continents and run with trains. The camaraderie of X and O, and the bags are still here and yours, but experience distributes and success is absolute, and run is now win-win-win, cause X moves with O.
Those bags that weigh more than you do, the burdens of the past, negative experiences, limiting beliefs, experience helps us let go, see things differently.
And the camaraderie of X and O, those opposing forces coming together.
Creating something new, more powerful.
True success, embracing the whole.
Integrating those seemingly opposite forces.
Like a change of clothes in a song. Regret, loss, letting go.
That feeling of longing, wishing things were different. Suffer, ache, and painstake gone has gone to where regret came from. The dwellers in misery are given free entry temporary. The settlers are losers, sedimentary, so pass through with one change of clothes, or in truth it should have unnecessary prolong and deflate the blimp of have been just a helium ballow, and they danced with glee, but the light of day gave way to a harvest moon, for they could dissect the parts and dip their hands with glee. Dwelling on the past keeps you stuck in pain.
And those images, change of clothes, helium ballow, superficial attempts at transformation, covering up the pain without addressing the cause.
True healing is facing those emotions, feeling the grief, then letting it go.
And then this challenge. Of the already dissected and dip their hands in your heart, the bitter should give way to wary, and salvage give way to sorry, for the alligator moat must be crossed. And if you radiate fear, then be certain and aware that your social and emotional life's end is near in the picture, not to mention your ability to laugh. And Skylark is so lucky for he can fly. We have to face our fears, step into the unknown.
The alligator moat, the obstacles we create, fears, insecurities that hold us back.
Okay, last one for this part. Wisdom says, the nature of wisdom, the challenges of sharing it.
He starts heavy. Wisdom falls in love so easily that pain becomes the perpetual burden of the wise understanding frailty makes the bully uneasy. For fear is present within its size, and the whimsical look that dismays acknowledged beauty belongs to retention of the minute for the walked over stepped on who will ever know me, is the needed intangible attempt at truth, and the attempt at truth is significantly wholesome.
True wisdom is deep empathy, understanding the human condition. It's a blessing and a curse.
Knowing too much, but still wanting to connect to love.
And strength isn't dominance. Understanding frailty makes the bully uneasy. True strength is recognizing vulnerability.
In ourselves and others.
A more compassionate approach to power. We're all connected. Hurting others hurts ourselves.
Exactly.
It talks about staying true to yourself. For the rare is always found, and wisdom again has been scorned as eccentricity. It's okay to be different. Think outside the box.
Challenge the norms.
The most valuable things are often the hardest to find.
Those hidden gems.
And then the challenge of sharing wisdom with those who aren't ready. For well-meaning wisdom won't reach the misled.
Trying to help someone who won't help themselves.
You can't force change. True understanding has to come from within. All right, the gate. Barriers that separate us, forces that control and confine.
Lets them in and keeps them out, ungiving saddles that break the soul, that once proud carriage must now bite the bit and run when we feel like walking, solace denied, and there are flashing eyes and restrained powers. Systems of control, hierarchies of power, who's in, who's out, who's worthy.
Feeling trapped, freedom restricted, forced to conform.
That once proud carriage must now bite the bit, losing your spirit, submitting to a power greater than yourself.
But he hints at resistance, finding solace with those who've been exiled. But they bloom in exile, for like souls gather and circle and suffer with resignation, for happiness is relative. Even in darkness, there's connection, meaning, belonging.
We're not alone in our struggles.
In that ending, one must be left to the mercy of justice. True freedom is facing the consequences of our actions.
Individually and collectively.
We can't escape the past.
Yeah.
We have to be accountable for our choices.
If we want a more just world.
Okay, let's get quiet. Silence. The power of silence. Peace And a weapon.
Silence speaks sometimes with anger, sometimes with contemplation, sometimes with silence. The nothingness of disapproval has the power to remold the schemer, regards the silence of contemplation as a race of silent counteraction, the scheme of gravity.
Silence can be interpreted in so many ways.
They strength or weakness.
Speaking out versus staying silent. Choosing your battles.
He compares silence to gravity, the scheme of gravity.
It pulls us inward. Grounding, unsettling. The most powerful things are often the ones we can't see or hear.
And he describes how we experience silence.
The ocean. That rush and rip volumes of swelling power, and then the wind, giant, quiet, chaotic, peaceful, destructive, creative.
Silence can be a lot of things.
And that image of the leaf. And so sit with sometimes refuses to blow a fragile leaf from its last hope. Stillness, suspension of time, everything hanging in the balance.
Silence isn't an absence, it's a presence. A space for possibility, transformation.
The tip of the spear, that raw, transformative power of creativity.
He describes the good music that's taunting him, coming from even an undesired place, inspiration striking from somewhere unexpected, a place you'd rather not acknowledge.
And guitars creating unearthly blue.
Music transcending the ordinary, taking you to another dimension.
True art comes from those raw, authentic places, the places we hide.
He describes the creative process as alchemy.
Transforming pain into beauty. Penetrating jail cell boardroom pew-pew dusting with feathers, demanding militant measures, scouring the dull chrome of daily into the brilliant jazz progressions we wear with wear and tear, the way we improvise the music, the tip of the spear. We take those broken pieces and create something new, powerful.
Art as healing.
Making sense of the world.
Yeah.
Expressing truths.
Yes.
Okay. With more, self-preservation, building those walls.
He starts with this toxic environment. The fumes to blacken, but in disguised amounts the deadlier colorless, the medley of muddle.
He's taking extreme measures to protect himself, removing eyes from a monsoon to avoid a puddle, controlling information. Catch me now and distill my rivers, impugn the progress of my tadpoles with filters, protecting his vulnerability.
Do it now, do it now, do it now. That urgency, feeling threatened.
And that ending, and defend my ways with more. Drawing a line?
Don't mess with me.
We all have different coping mechanisms, ways of protecting ourselves.
Sometimes those defenses are intense.
Okay, thank you. Sorry. And please, the dark side of those social rituals, how we use language to manipulate.
He describes those phrases. Thank you, sorry, and please. Impression-forming deputies. A smile, however, is the warden with the keys, and altogether they sure mislead. Politeness as a weapon. Disarming people.
Making them feel safe when you have other motives.
And he describes the people who are good at this game.
To be they work, the insincere, once employed for, must be unsure, so insincere and insecure, the one thing, they must be for sure a triangle from suspicious eyes. They thrive on manipulation.
Charm, charisma.
To get what they want. He talks about the reasons. For gain, or simply to mask shame or pain. We use these rituals to protect ourselves, avoid conflict, maintain an image.
Everyone's fighting their own battles, sometimes in unhealthy ways.
Okay, last one. To reassure, dismiss, and expand. The power of language to shape perception, control the narrative.
To reassure, dismiss, and expand without the pomp and circumstance. Verbal manipulation. Make people feel safe, then shut them down. Get them to see your way.
And it's cyclical. Seasons end with confidence that they are sure to come again. Patterns, ways of relating, they keep repeating.
We have to be aware of those patterns.
If we want to break free.
And then that rant about Peter incomplete, enamel ears. This game we play. Power and manipulation.
Using language to get what we want, control the story.
We're all capable of it to some degree.
It's our choice how we use that power.
It's a choice, right? Do we use it for good or to manipulate?
Heavy stuff. All right, we've got a few more poems to unpack. Saul's silence, the tip of the spear, with more, thank you, sorry, and please. And to reassure, dismiss, and expand.
Quite a lineup.
Yeah. Each one a whole world of emotion. Let's start with Saul's silence. Silence itself expressing so much.
Right.
He says, silence speaks sometimes with anger, sometimes with contemplation, sometimes with silence. Wait, how can silence speak with silence?
It's like when someone's not saying anything, but you can feel it. You know,
Yeah.
Their silence is saying everything. Anger, disapproval.
Passive aggression.
Exactly. Yeah. Those unspoken words are the loudest.
And then there's that line, the nothingness of disapproval have the power to remold. You know, when you mess up and nobody says anything, but that silence is just crushing you.
More powerful than any words.
He's right. Silence can be used to manipulate, to control.
Make you feel small.
Yeah. Okay. And then he compares silence to gravity. The scheme of gravity, that image.
It's perfect, isn't it?
It's that force pulling us inward. Stillness that can be both comforting and terrifying.
The most powerful things, often the ones we can't see or hear.
And then he describes all these different ways we experience silence. The ocean that rush and rip volumes of swelling power, and then the wind giant quiet.
Silence can be both. Chaotic and peaceful. Destructive and creative.
And that image of the leaf, and so sit with, sometimes refuses to blow a fragile leaf from its last hope. That moment of stillness, everything hanging in the balance.
Beautiful, isn't it? Silence isn't an absence, it's a presence.
Space for possibility, transformation. Okay, the tip of the spear. Creativity coming from those dark places.
He describes the good music that's taunting him, coming from even an undesired place. Inspiration striking from somewhere unexpected, maybe somewhere you'd rather not go.
And he talks about those guitars creating unearthly blue.
Taking you to another place.
Yeah. He's saying true art comes from those raw, authentic places inside us, the places we hide. And then that image of the dull chrome of daily being scoured into brilliant jazz progressions.
Transforming the mundane into something beautiful.
It's alchemy.
Taking those broken pieces of ourselves, those experiences that hurt us, and creating something powerful, something that cuts through the darkness.
Art as healing. Art as meaning-making.
Exactly.
Okay, let's talk about with more. This is about self-preservation, those walls we build.
He starts with this sense of danger, a toxic environment. The fumes to blacken but in disguise to mounts the deadlier, colorless, the medley of muddle.
Extreme measures to protect himself. Removing eyes from a monsoon to avoid a puddle. Controlling information. Catch me now and distill my rivers. Impugn the progress of my tadpoles with filters. He doesn't want anyone to see his vulnerability.
It's like he's saying, I'm in control here, and that repetition, do it now, do it now, do it now, there's that real sense of urgency.
He feels threatened.
Yeah.
And defend my ways with more. It's a line in the sand.
Don't even try me.
Right. We all have those coping mechanisms.
Different ways of protecting ourselves.
And sometimes those defenses get intense. Okay, thank you, sorry, and please, the dark side of those social niceties.
He describes those phrases, thank you, sorry, and please, impression-forming deputies. A smile, however, is the warden with the keys, and altogether they sure mislead. Politeness as a weapon. It disarms people.
Yeah, you make them feel safe, but you might have ulterior motives.
Right.
And he describes that people do this well. To be, they work they insincere. Once employed for, must be unsure, so insincere and insecure the one thing. They must be, for sure, a triangle from suspicious eyes. They use manipulation.
Charm, charisma.
To get what they want, and then the reasons behind it. For gain, or simply to mask shame or pain.
Protecting ourselves, avoiding conflict, keeping up appearances.
Yeah, we've all been there. All right, last one. To reassure, dismiss, and expand. Language used to shape perception, control the narrative.
He starts with to reassure, dismiss, and expand without the pomp and circumstance. It's like verbal jujitsu.
Making people feel safe, then shutting them down, getting them to see things your way.
And it becomes a cycle. Seasons end with confidence that they are sure to come again. Those patterns, those ways of relating, they keep repeating.
We get stuck. And then that whole part about petering complete and enamel ears, it's like he's describing this game we play.
Power manipulation, we use language to get what we want.
To control the story.
We're all capable of it.
It's a choice how we use that power. So we've explored a lot. Fear, vulnerability, longing, that struggle to be authentic in a world that wants us to conform. But Benjamin also shows us hope. Connection, rebellion, those creative sparks. What final thought would you leave our listeners with?
I think, remember, you're not alone in feeling these things. Benjamin's poetry, it shows us the light and shadow inside all of us.
It's an invitation. Embrace those complexities, explore those dark corners, find the beauty and meaning in unexpected places.
His poetry isn't about easy answers. It's about asking the right questions, the ones that lead us to a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world.
And that's our deep dive into Vaughn Benjamin's poetry. Revisit these poems. Sit with the discomfort, embrace the challenge, and let those words spark your own journey.
Happy diving!